Let me emphasize this. Of nowadays, most women have become so desperate to the point where some of them have started behaving in another unusual way. The reason being desperation. They have been looking for men, but unfortunately, these men they have been looking for, they have not gotten them. So once you discover that a certain man has shown interest in you, you must be very cautious on how you will trend with this man. Men are so intelligent. Men have reached a point where they do not expect any other form of stress from somebody or from any other human being. That is even why most of them, they have refused even to marry. They have refused even to get themselves engaged with someone, simply because they need some peace of mind. But now that somebody has shown interest in you as a woman, that is the right time. You are supposed to treat that man with a lot of care. That is the moment you are supposed to try by all means to make that particular man realize that at least he has gotten somebody he has been looking for in life, somebody who at least can give him some peace of mind. And if you do so, I'm telling you, happiness will just come by itself. I know most of you at some point you may have been admiring to get a place where you can at least gain some social knowledge about the many life intrigues or intrigues that you may have gone through. So for now, what I would expect each one of you, especially women and even men, being the first time we are interacting together through this channel, I kindly ask you to subscribe, you share this video, and at the same time you hit the notification bell so that you may not miss the many upcoming videos that tentatively are going to shape your lives. Thank you. Many women all over the world, they have found themselves in some other funny life situations to the point where some of them, they have even gone mad. There are so many testimonies that have been spoken by women of different kinds, where some of them at some point, I think you may have heard some of them saying that, you know what, I left my man simply because I reached a point where I realized that he didn't have any form of affection towards me. That is why I decided to leave him. Another one would come with another fashion of story where you will hear some women saying that, you know what, our family broke up simply because I discovered that the man I was living with for so many years has been moving around with some small ladies. A very intelligent woman, having realized so, you need to ask yourself some questions. What is this that might have forced your man to go for those young ladies you are talking about? What are the circumstances that might have led your man for having gone for those small ladies? Those are some of the pertinent questions you as a woman who left your family or who left your home simply because of a mistake or simply because of that realization. So that is one of the most important questions you are supposed to ask yourself. Another one will come with another fashion of story saying that, you know, I have been living with a man in the same house, but it is as if I have been living with either my brother or my fellow sister. There are those some of you women who have been saying what I've already indicated, that you have a man in the house, you've been living together, but when you try to analyze the situation, it is as if you are living with your brother. That one indicates that there is a serious problem in that house, and the only person who can resolve that problem is a woman. When a man has lost interest in you, then it means that there is a way you have been behaving in the house that is unusual in nature before the eyes of your man. That is even why the kind of affection that was there has over the time deteriorated. That is why he has reached a point where he doesn't value you anymore. So as a woman, you are also supposed to ask yourself questions. What is this that might have made this man to start treating me as any other person in the house? And once you get your answers, I think afterwards you will know exactly what you are supposed to do in order to redeem the relationship that had already begun to get destroyed. Another woman will come with another fashion that, you know, I have been going over the time through the phone of my husband, but it's as if there are some other people he has been talking to. That is why I decided to bring some kind of interrogation, but in the process we differed. That is why he decided to chase me away, or that is why I decided to move out of that house. You know, These are some of the silly mistakes you as women you've been doing over the time. The very moment you realize that there is something unusual between you and your man, there is a way or a procedure you are supposed to undertake those grievances. But the very moment you will do it through emotions, you may never agree to one another. And in the end, either you or the man, you are going to part ways. At the very moment that one or a situation like that one arises, then it's you as a woman who is going to be in problems. So as a matter of fact, you as a woman, you are supposed to be patient, especially once you discover that there is something unusual that is going on or that has been going on between your man and some other people somewhere. Another woman or another people or some other people elsewhere, you may hear them saying that, I have been staying with a man who is poor, with a man who doesn't have money, like so and so, with a man who is very difficult to give me money. So having reached at a point where I thought it wise, having considered having reached at a decision, I decided to leave that man so that he can continue, or so that I may look for some other person who is rich in nature, somebody who can give me money. You see, by the time you make such a barbaric decision, remember that already you had destroyed some of your good opportunities in life. Remember, this same person you are saying that he doesn't have money is the same person who can either make you to live happily than those people whom you are thinking of, the ones whom you perceive to be having more money. You might get somebody, of course, who has money, but at the same time, you might find yourself having so many emotional problems on the hands of that particular person whom you've ran to simply because he has money. Some other ladies, there is a situation where you can find a man has developed interest in you, and now simply because you have a strong urge or a belief in money, now you try to test him by asking or by demanding some amount of dollars from him as a way of trying to gauge his financial status. Let me tell you, women, these are some of the barbaric mistakes you've been making. Remember, the guy whom you have demanded him to give you money might be having it, yes, of course, but he will definitely run away from you, because there are some questions that would come to the mind of that particular individual. Why have you begun by demanding money from him, and yet you people, you've not solidified your relationship. This man will start to avoid you. This man will lose interest in you. This man will perceive you as an enemy. This man will perceive you as a lady or as a woman who doesn't know what you are doing. So under such situations, if you've been looking for a man and by good luck you've met somebody who has shown interest in you, that is the moment you are supposed to carry yourself with a lot of care. That is the moment you are supposed to discover by yourself the best way on how you are supposed to trend with that man. You may never know if at some point that particular man might have had a woman like you, but simply because of that particular woman being obsessed with money, the guy himself decided to run away from her. And now that he has been looking for somebody and he has landed on you, and you've begun by demanding handouts from him, I don't think if that man will ever develop interest in you. So those are some of the factors you are supposed to be aware of. Another one will say that, you know, I have tried to tell this man that we are supposed to do A, B, C, D, but it is as if he doesn't value my opinions. By the time such a situation arises, you as a woman, you are supposed to know that there is something funny, unusual in you that has forced this man not to value your opinions. And once you discover those factors in you, I think afterwards you will find a way of changing for the better. Let me emphasize this. Of nowadays, most women have become so desperate to the point where some of them have started behaving in another unusual way. The reason being desperation. They have been looking for men, but unfortunately, these men they have been looking for, they have not gotten them. So once you discover that a certain man has shown interest in you, you must be very cautious on how you will trend with this man. Men are so intelligent. Men have reached a point where they do not expect any other form of stress from somebody or from any other human being. That is even why most of them, they have refused even to marry. They have refused even to get themselves engaged with someone, simply because they need some peace of mind. But now that somebody has shown interest in you as a woman, that is the right time. You are supposed to treat that man with a lot of care. That is the moment you are supposed to try by all means to make that particular man realize that at least he has gotten somebody he has been looking for in life, somebody who at least can give him some peace of mind. And if you do so, I'm telling you, happiness will just come by itself. Harmony will just come by itself. And you will find yourself together with that man establishing a very strong bond, the bond that would enable the two of you to establish a very strong relationship. That is one of the most important things that you are supposed to bear in mind. Of nowadays, men, they do not want any form of stress, especially from a woman. You know, by nature, women usually act by emotions. Even when something small has happened, it will be hell before the eyes of that, or before the eyes of those individual men. So a time has come when you are supposed to persevere with the men that you are living with the men that have shown interest in you. That is the only way you will find yourself getting what you have always aspired to get in life. That is the moment you will reap the best out of that relationship. So you as a woman, the most fundamental aspect that you need to know is that a time has come when you as a woman, you are supposed to play a very pinnacle role in the establishment of a relationship. The men who are out there looking for women, most of them, they have become so tired. Most of them at some point may have had or might have found themselves having gotten engaged with some women who became deplorable before their lives, who became so hostile before their lives. So as they are moving out there, they are anticipating to get only those people who are considerate, only those women who knows what they are doing, only those women who are ready to serve a man as a wife. That is the only way your challenges will most likely come to an end. That is the only way you will realize the many dreams you may have conceived in your minds. So as of today, you as a woman, you must be very careful. A time has come in the history of this world when you as a woman, especially during this moment when men have become scarce, you are supposed to discover in at most some of the basic and the fundamental things you are supposed to undertake in life in order for you to attract the attention of many men. Let me tell you today, many men you've been seeing around, most of them, they have become tired with women to the point where some of them have even decided to stay alone without women. Some of them, they have even denounced even speaking to women because of the many bad things some other women previously might have done to them. So under such environments, you as women, it's a high time you are supposed to know about the best ways on how you are supposed to train yourself before the few men you've been seeing around. Let me tell you, nowadays it's not like those olden days when men used to beg women for affection, when men used to chase women like any other issue. This, we are living in moments when men themselves have become so demoralized in our society simply because of what women have been doing to them. So for you to be fortunate to get at least somebody whom you can move along with, it is important for you to understand some of the basics on how you are supposed to train or to carry yourself before the men who might have shown interest in you. Because at the end of the day, you are going to get at least one who is going to rhyme with your own ambitions, and the two of you will find afterwards establishing a family together. And once you will do so, I think you shall have opened the doors of fortune, and success will come on your way, and hope and harmony will be some of the factors that are going to thrive within your family setup. So this is the right time, you people, you women, you are supposed to be conversant with what you are supposed to do. If there are some people who knows how to endure problems or frustrations, there are none other than women. That is why all over the world you've always seen these women walking here on our roads, dressed smartly. But if someone were to open what is going on in their minds, I'm very sure that you will definitely sympathize with some of them. There are so many people, so many women who are living as single mothers, not by virtue of the way they would have wanted. Some have found themselves living as single mothers just by coincidence, if not by accident. There are so many tribulations that have forced many women to find themselves living as single mothers, while others living lives that are full of frustrations. That is why it is important for us today to put things clear on the table so that we can ascertain some of the most pertinent reasons that have forced many women to find themselves in such situations. You see, there are some of them, or some of you as women, who might have found yourself in some other difficult emotional situations without knowing some of the intricacies that may have led you into such a kind of situations. That is why you've got to listen carefully, because there are some avenues that you may have followed, the ones that might have led you into leading some other pathetic kind of life, the life that left many of you living as single mothers, with children or without children. So you've got to be very careful about what I'm going to say. Naturally, let me tell you openly here today that men by nature, they were created to be loved by women. That is why you've always seen men moving around with only those ladies or women who are submissive. The women who have read the conscience of men to the point where they have come to discover some of the most hidden secrets about the conscience of men. That is why most women have been enjoying their matrimonial lives or relationship lives, simply because they understand fully on the modalities that are supposed to be employed by them in such situations, the situations of engagement. But those some of you who have been underestimating some of these tactics some other women have been applying on men, that is why you will continue leading or living miserable lives that are full of tribulations. The first thing you ought to do as a woman, and I think you've come across so many testimonies that have been spoken by women who at some point may have found themselves in such situations. So those lamentations from those women, I think some of them may have refreshed some of your attitudes towards matrimonial or friendship lives. That is why as a woman, you ought to know that engagement or getting yourself engaged to a man, that one in itself is a science. It's a science that you need to understand fully. That is the only way you can thrive through that system, the system of matrimony, the system of getting engaged to a man. So it is quite very unfortunate that most women, knowingly or without knowing, have been playing around with what I can call relationship or engagements. You've gotten a man, instead of giving him his due love, but then you begin by doing some other semantic things that are contrary to the wishes of those individual men. And once that particular man discovers that you are not serious, that is the moment he will start to move away from you. And afterwards, you as a woman, you will find yourself in some other difficult situations, situations that would ultimately bring lots of regrets. So in order to counter such a kind of situations, you as a woman, you have the mandate of trying to nourish your engagement, your love to a man, your friendship to your boyfriend. That is the only way you will enjoy the fruits of engagement. I know some of you may have been seeing some other women around enjoying their engagements with their men without going deep into the root of that happiness. How did it manage, or how did they come up to find themselves in such good situations, so that even you might do the same? But then it is quite very unfortunate that most of you don't take things serious. Men only want those ladies, those women who are submissive. It is quite very sad. There are some women by nature who are so hostile. I don't know how I can describe them, but by nature, the way they talk, the way they carry themselves, they look hostile. Those are majority of those women are the ones who have found themselves living as single mothers, simply because they cannot rhyme with any other man, or if they have gotten themselves getting engaged to a man, it won't take long before they depart or before they leave each other, by virtue of the behavior of you as a woman. That is why, if you want things to flow nicely on your side, then it's you who has to play a very pertinent role in your relationship. That is why you were given 6 senses. Men have only 5. It is you who is supposed to make sure, or it is you who is supposed to play a very pinnacle or pivotal role in trying to put your family setups in a manner that is friendly, in a manner that is lovely, in a manner that is admirable. That is when you will find peace within your family setups. That is the only way you can avoid the so many dramatic situations that over the time have been happening on the side of women. You ought to know what the specific man that you've gotten attached to wants in life. You ought to know how you are supposed to behave before the eyes of those individual men. You've got to try as much as possible to know exactly some of the basic modalities you are supposed to apply in arresting the conscience of those individual men that you are living with. That is the only way you can come out as a winner. That is the only way you will enjoy your relationship. Otherwise, if you behave in a manner as if you do not have brains, as if you do not use your minds, you will find yourselves in some other pathetic situations, situations that will leave you regretting for the most of your lives. Remember, as time goes by, ladies, they keep on losing value. So the very moment you will prolong the urge to get married, remember that is the surest way of trying to destroy your future. That is the surest way of trying to curtail what you might have reaped, or the best that you could have reaped out of getting yourselves engaged with a man, the one that would ultimately lead into marriage. So the very moment you keep on behaving in a manner that is not pleasing, you've got to know that time is not on your side, you especially women. So once you've gotten somebody who has developed interest in you, you've got to try your best to entice that particular man so that he may develop a very strong bond between you and him, the one that at least will lead both of you to somewhere reasonable. So you've got a role to play in life, a greater role than men, for you to win this circus of matrimony. But if you keep on dildaring around, you may fail to achieve that much anticipated courtship between you and a man, and you will find yourself nursing so many injuries. I think you may have seen some clever women walking around with their husbands or boyfriends. Some of you, I think you may have found yourselves trying to tease or to raise some kind of jokes that now, what are they doing? That now, are they trying to show us that now they are important? No. Those women who usually walk with their boyfriends or husbands, those are part of the most clever women that we have ever seen in this world. Remember, you've got to know that every time you see a man walking with his wife to somewhere or along the road, the mastermind of that decision is that particular woman, meaning that there is something, there are some other attributes that you won't know from your man, from your boyfriend, not unless if you have a brief tour, a countryside tour. You go together to a shopping mall, you go together to an hypermarket, but you would always find these women that purposely, or the essence of moving together with that particular man, is not only going to do shopping. There are some secret attributes that this particular woman or lady wants to know from his man, from his husband, or from his boyfriend, so that she may know exactly what she is supposed to do in order not to make that particular man, that particular boyfriend, to think otherwise, going for the second choice. So that is why I tell you that matrimonial engagements is some form of science. It is only those ladies or women who are determined that would arrest the conscience of men. So what you need to do as a woman, you need to do a lot. Try to learn some of the most hidden attributes of that particular man, of that particular boyfriend that you've gotten yourself engaged with. That is the only way you will come out as a winner. But if you do it carelessly, you might find yourselves in some other bad situations. There are those some of you go in one way or the other, might have left their family setups because of some of the events of disintegration until they found themselves living as single mothers with children or without children. I think at your own personal time, you may have thought and rediscovered where you went wrong. And if already you've done so, I'm very sure by the time you will get somebody else, or by the time you will reunite with your former man, I think now you've known what you are supposed to do. But if you continue listening to some other women out there in the form of your friends, some that do not even know where they are headed to, at the end of the day, you will discover that you've wasted most of your time. Remember, in life, you are only supposed to move with only those women who are focused. Those women who have come out from those relationships that are stable. That is the moment you will also find yourself doing the same. Otherwise, if you keep on moving, having some other funny plans with some women who are less focused, then problems may never end within your lives. You will keep on living or leading lives that are deplorable, lives that are pathetic in nature. So what are you supposed to do as a woman? As a woman, it is important for you to cultivate some of the basic fundamental principles in your life, the ones that would assist you to make wise decisions, especially when it comes to engagement issues with men. That is the only way you can thrive through the many turbulence, many that have cornered many women to the point where some of them, they have become miserable in life. So the best thing you are supposed to do as a woman, as I had said earlier, try to learn some of the top secrets about the man you are living in, about the man you are living with, about the man you will find in future in your life. That is the only way you will succeed in those undertakings. But if you keep on cheating yourself, that is through the behavior, a very bad behavior you've been possessing over the time, is going to pave way for success in matrimony issues in the future. Those are white lies. Instead, do what I have said. Try to do everything possible to contain the minds of those individual men you've been moving with. That is the only way you will come out in a manner that is acceptable, in a manner that is admirable, in a manner that is going to please so many people out there, to the point where they will take you as their role model. So the ball is on your hands. As women, there are so many things you are supposed to do. There are so many silly mistakes some of you have been making in your lives. There are so many behaviors, some that are so devastating. You've been possessing, the ones that have denied you proper men. So definitely it is against this background I had thought it wise to prepare for you this presentation, so that those some of you who didn't know what you ought to do may at least grasp something important out of it, the one that would enable some of you to know how you can navigate through the so many matrimonial or relationship issues that may come on your way now or in future.